All right, everybody, welcome to today's episode 9, Unlocking the Power of Seller Concessions, a strategic approach to real estate with Diana Martinez from REMAX Platinum. Welcome, everybody. We were having some technical difficulties, even though we came on time. I was trying to get it to, show up on Facebook, and it wasn't showing up on Facebook, so I was having trouble with that. But again, anyways, thank you, everybody who's going to be on this show. Today, we do have a special guest, Diana Martinez with REMAX Platinum. I'm going to bring something, a treat to you guys out here today. But let me go ahead and, without further ado, introduce Diana. We'll go ahead and bring Diana out onto the main stage. Diana, how's it going, Diana?
Oh, I needed to do my drum roll.
Boom! That's the best I got. Did you hear it?
I wanted fireworks and all that stuff. Got to work on it.
I'm barely starting off with all this good stuff right here. You know what? And I'm trying to make sure that it is on Facebook. I don't know if it is or if it's not on Facebook.
You don't get a message or something?
I'm sorry?
You don't get a message or something?
I got a notification right now saying, hey, we're having trouble connecting to your Facebook. That's why it took me a little bit longer than I wanted to connect to what's it called? And now it's streaming to Instagram. So there we go. Now we're getting things rolling. But yeah, so I was having a little bit of trouble streaming to Facebook, and it's going. We're rolling. We're rolling. All right. Okay. Yeah, we're rolling. So yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have the drum roll just yet. I am still working all the kinks and all that good stuff for this. But we'll get there. We'll get there. You know, maybe we'll make this a full production. Maybe we'll do it there at the office.
Yeah.
So we'll get there when we get there. But without further ado, Diana, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? Where are you from? And where do you go? What do you do?
A little bit of everything. So Diana Martinez, a realtor for the past 3 years this month. And before that, I was in manufacturing for about close to 13 years. And so I have manufacturing experience. I do have banking experience. I was in the banking industry, agricultural, for 5 years, but been working and hustling since the age of 16. I have 2 daughters, teenagers, I have to add, a 17-year-old and a soon-to-be 14-year-old acting like she is 35.
That's a great.
And yeah, that's about it. Where am I from? Born in Corpus Christi and raised in San Benito, but went to school in Los Fresnos, class of 99. Go Falcons. So yeah, a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah.
Now so, I'm in the McAllen office now.
What do you mean? Oh, you're working out of the McAllen office, like right now?
I live in Harlingen, work in McAllen.
Orale. So a little bit about your manufacturing background. What kind of manufacturing did you do?
We do, because they're still open, and when I still consider myself part of that family because I was there for a very long time. So we do manufacture. It's a company called Master Brand Cabinets. Prior to that, it was Woodcrafters. And everything, when you go to Home Depot, when you go to Lowe's, and you go to the bath department, all those vanities, those cabinets that you get, the special order vanity tops with stone effects and everything, we did all that. So we have lines of Martha Stewart. They have we won one for Martha Stewart, and then we had of course the Home Depot brand. God, in Lowe's, I can't find I can't remember the other brand, but basically the majority of those were there. We manufacture them in Mexico, and we would transport them here to the United States.
Oh, so then that's pretty cool. Yeah. And so in regards to you were born in Corpus Christi?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've been in the Rio Grande Valley since you were, what did you say?
Probably about 2 years old. Yeah.
So okay. You were just born over there. They brought you over here.
Yes.
What was that? Why did they bring you to the Rio Grande Valley?
Because my grandma moved over here on my mom's side. And so we wanted to be close to her. And so my dad purchased a 5-acre tract. And so we moved to to San Benito, outskirts of San Benito, and just so that my grandma can go back to Corpus. And so we just stayed.
That's the home of Freddie Bender, right?
Yeah.
Do you know him?
Freddie Fender, yes. Well, I mean, I know where he lives and stuff, but I didn't go to San Benito school, high school. I didn't go to that school district.
You went to what?
Los Fresnos. Because I lived on the outskirts. Yeah, I lived on the outskirts.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with the Brownsville area because of my Los Fresnos friends. I'm familiar with Los Fresnos and San Benito because that's where that was a big city for us.
Yeah, well, it was the biggest. It was like big then, but now it's like
exactly.
You know, like our mentality is huge. Like I always talk to people about that. Like when I mean, I'm from here, from the Mission area, and I always tell people like it's grown so much. And
since you last remember it,
Monday.
Since you last remember it, I mean, you remember small things, and now it's just expanding.
Well, my wife and I actually were having this conversation yesterday, the day before yesterday. She was like, so I went to school on Mission, Salinas Elementary, there on 107 and Conway. I don't know if you're familiar.
Okay.
I went to elementary there, and I grew up on 8.5 Moorfield. But back then, you know, like it was far to get from Moorfield to Mission. So it was far. Everything seemed so far, but it really wasn't because there was no traffic. You can get from point A to point B pretty fast, right? But today there's so much traffic being generated there on 107. Like if you go, you know, what is it, west of Conway towards Jarachinas, all of that is just super high traffic. When we used to go to Mexico back in the day, from 8.5 Moorfield, we used to take 107 to Jarachinas and just take it to the expressway. But what I'm trying to say is, like, she was saying it was far for her parents to go from their house where they live at now to that particular school to go pick up somebody. So it was far then, but it was still kind of close in the terms of, like, it wouldn't take you so long because there was no traffic, but it was far. Now it's just traffic everywhere, so you take even longer to get there. But the distance hasn't grown. You know, the distance hasn't changed.
We had to. Yeah, I can totally relate. We had to. So I lived on the outskirts of San Benito, going towards Bayview. So there was a second access to the beach. Okay. So 510, and I lived over there. But when we go to San Benito, like to HEB or something, it was like, okay, we got to go to the city.
Well, so you're familiar with, obviously you're from all over the place, right? You're very familiar with that area close to the South Body area and whatnot, but you're also very familiar with this area here, the Mission McAllen area, yes? So are you familiar with the HEB that's on Business 83 in Conway?
No,
where like Tom Landry is at?
Yes. Okay. Yes. So yes, that's where my brother used to work there.
So they were also
in that area. So yes,
there. You remember the Hollywood video?
Yes.
Okay. So and then the Blockbuster was right in front of HEB. So
now it's like a placita, right? That they use like for a park or something.
Yes, it's right next to the park. So that was our HEB from 8.5 Moorfield when I was growing up. And now you have an HEB on 495. You also have an HEB on Palmhurst or 3 Mile Line. So that HEB today, if you think about it, it's really, really far from 8.5 Moorfield. And that was the closest thing you had back then to get to your grocery store. Now you obviously have all these stores, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's grown so much. Like, the Rio Grande Valley has expanded so much. It's grown, right? So yeah, I don't know. I just reminiscing, right? Reminiscing.
I know, me too. I can totally.
But I'm not too familiar with that area over there. Los Fresnos. The only thing I'm familiar with over there is obviously the beach, and now SpaceX, and when you get off on Los Fresnos to get to the beach. That's the extent of my.
Yeah, I know all the back roads to go to Los Fresnos and to go to the beach. So.
Yeah. And you went to Los Fresnos, you said, right? To high school?
Yes.
Did you do any sports?
Unfortunately, no.
No?
Which now that my youngest daughter is very athletic and I'm very competitive. So with her being athletic and everything, they make fun of me because they're like, you should have played sports. I'm like, yeah, I know, but it just wasn't in my cards at that time.
Well, the reason I ask is because if I'm not mistaken, they've had a powerlifting team forever. Like longer than because I know I'm one of the pioneers over here in La Jolla, but I think Los
Oh,
Fresnos.
for a very long time. I mean, I was 99 and they had an awesome team
Yeah. So I've
back in
always,
the day.
I mean, La Jolla had a powerlifting team for a while, way I think in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But it got, I guess it stopped having a team. And then in 2012, 13, 14, the head coach there restarted or resetted the team. I'm not too familiar if that's the case or not, but you know, when in my second year coaching, I became the head varsity, head powerlifting coach there, you know, thanks to Coach Espinosa. But I do know Los Fresnos has had it forever, and I was just wondering. I know you like working out as well, right?
Yeah, I've been slacking off, but my thing was weightlifting, so I could totally see myself doing some powerlifting back. Yeah, for sure. If it would have been me, like back, you know, if I were to ever go back to school, the only thing would be for me to play sports. And it would have been basketball and powerlifting. Second would probably be
your basketball coach would have been like, no, you can't do powerlifting.
Yeah.
Right. Be a coach from La Jolla or from any coach.
Really?
For whatever reason, some coaches just don't like to share.
Yeah.
Don't like to share. No, I can tell you right now that you probably would have, you know, you probably would have had some. Hey, don't go do powerlifting. You know, go lift weights, but don't go do powerlifting. We get that from, like, you know, the track coaches too. You know, the track coaches don't like it when, you know, your football players get too big and too bulky. It is what it is.
I always heard it from my friends that they were always telling something negative about it. So for sure, it was like, no, you can't do this if you're going to be doing this other sport. Which my daughter plays every sport she's played, in every sport she's played. Volleyball, and then from volleyball, basketball, and then she tried softball, and now she's in the track. But she goes, oh no, she goes, I'm not running. I am not conditioned. She's going to do the discus and the
shot put.
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, those two.
I lost my. I accidentally pressed the back button right now. I don't know if you saw me disappear from the screen.
Yeah, I just saw myself. I'm like, yeah, it's okay. I'm good.
I pressed the back button on my mouse and I disappeared into
really?
into the previous screen. I was like, son of a biscuit. Did I just lose the entire thing here? So no, I came right back. So I'm glad I didn't lose anything. I think we're still streaming on Facebook and on Instagram. So let me double check real quickly. It does happen. We do have some technical difficulties from time to time. I've been privileged to be on a podcast for a friend of mine, where he's also a football coach, or he's a football coach. He's an athletic coordinator, if I'm not mistaken, for a middle school. And we always talk about sports and, you know, XYZ. And he had some technical difficulties, and he couldn't get it back on for a while. So
no way.
Yeah, but he was able to get it, you know. And we didn't lose the signal. He lost one of his computers, or he was losing one of his computers, and so he had to maneuver or MacGyver everything. Yeah. So, anyways, moving forward, we're gonna move on to a couple of segments, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna talk a little bit about seller concessions and how they benefit sellers, how they benefit buyers. You know, so Diana, you know, I brought you on here because recently, you know, you had a property in the Tres Lagos area where I was like, hey, you're offering those chingos of seller concessions, you know. Talk to me a little bit about that particular property, you know, your decision behind offering a bunch of seller concessions. And you're not the only person doing that right now. Tell us what seller concessions are, you know, tell us the benefits, you know, tell us how you came up with that strategy. What did your seller think? You know, walk us through that a little bit, just because I've seen it now more today than I did, you know, when I asked you that question, you know, why were you offering so many seller concessions? You know, in my head, I couldn't piece it together. But now, today, you know, 2 or 3 months later, I can understand it. But for the audience, for the people, for the public that's out there, talk to us a little bit about the strategy behind that.
Yeah. So number one, you always want to be the voice of your client, right? And in this case, this property that I had in Tres Lagos, it just so happens that he had been struggling to sell it, and we have to be just kind of persuasive, right? So I kind of explained to them what we could do, kind of different strategies. We can list it. I said we can list it at whatever price, based on the CMA, on the comparable market analysis. Said, but let's do something that's enticing for the buyers. So he was pretty motivated. Again, this goes back to what type of seller is your client. Hey, I just want to get rid of it, or no, I'm comfortable with this price. And so after going back with some items that we were just going back and forth and playing around with numbers, I told him, I said, we can do, instead of picking up the price right where we want it to be, I said, why don't we just leave the price where it's at? Or I'm sorry, instead of reducing the price, I said, why don't we leave the price where it's at, but give the buyer that benefit and that huge incentive to give them those seller concessions, right? And so buyer closing costs, when you're on that side of the spectrum, it does get pretty up there.
Yes.
So, let's give them that opportunity and saying, look, I have this great house and there's really nothing wrong with it. And I'm going to go ahead and add $10,000 seller concessions. Now, I always try to do it that way just so we won't reduce the sales price, mainly because like that, the values of the area stay. Right. I'm just the type of agent that I really reducing it is my last resort. Trying to make just more incentives for the seller to go ahead and for the buyer to go ahead and say, well, you know what, I want to, and for the agent to realize, okay, my buyer needs help in closing costs. Let me look at this property because this property is offering this 10 grand or 5 grand or 8, or 8. Yeah. And going back to your question, it's very simple. Seller concessions are just, closing costs our sellers are willing to pay to sweeten the deal for the buyers.
Right, for sure. So what can, and obviously you and I know the answers, but just for the public, for the audience, what can seller concessions help out with? Like what are some items?
Well, some of the items, of course, the appraisals, right? The survey, the lender closing costs. That's how simple terms, whatever the closing cost for the lender is. Let's say this lender says, okay, their fees are whatever their fee is, or 1% or whatever percentage it is, whatever that total is, just deduct, 10,000. They'll extract the 10,000 from the seller side. Right. And in this case, it would just be something, minimal for the buyers to come up with.
Yeah. So let's just use some basic numbers. Let's just use 200,000 just for the sake of an example. So you list a property for 200,000, doesn't sell, or maybe it does sell, maybe it's a great house, or this just for the sake of an example. Say, hey, we wanna add. Your seller wants to. Okay, we're listing the property at 200,000. You want to offer, I don't know, $10,000 in seller concessions. All right. What does that look like for the seller? What is the seller really selling the home at?
Well, the seller is really going to be selling the home at the 190. Okay, good. But in numbers for the appraisal and in numbers for like the market analysis, this home sold for 200,000. Right. Because that's what they're going to see.
So then the next question I have to ask, and this is me wanting to more information. When an appraiser comes out and does an appraisal on a property, and they say, hey, the property is listed at 200,000, and they know that the buyer is getting $10,000 in seller concession, does that help the appraiser make a decision? You know that by any chance? I don't know.
I cannot answer that, honestly. They're aware of it. Mm-hmm. It goes back to what type of appraiser they are. Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a lender question, right?
Because that would be a total, but and even an appraiser question, because that's directly towards them, because maybe that kind of entices them to be like, oh, well, then let me reduce the price, right? Because they have that as credit, or maybe increase it. So that's got more like a gray area.
Do you know any appraisers? We're gonna have to see if we can bring any appraisers into this show.
I do know, I do know several appraisers.
We're gonna have to talk to you about this in the after the post show.
And be like, I think that would be a great podcast for you. I'm definitely
gonna bring somebody on here because I do have questions for appraisers. So here's an example. A few years ago, when I first started, we listed a property. I'm not gonna say the company name, but we listed a property out there in going out to 281. I keep pointing in that direction, but you probably have no idea what direction the house is
I don't
in,
know
right?
where you're at, but okay.
Anyways, we listed a house northbound of 281, right? It was a really nice house, 2-story home. My buyer was a VA when he bought it, and it was a building. It was a company that built the home, right? So he bought the house for 236. He was a VA. The VA only came in at 220, right? So check
Okay.
this out. This is where and I want to know more information on this.
So you're 16 short.
Yeah, he was 16 short. He just the 16 out of pocket. He said, "Screw it, fuck it. I want the house, right?"
Okay.
So cool. He buys the house, 236. VA appraisal, right? This is what I love about this particular situation is one of my first deals, one of my first listings. VA appraisal comes in 220. House was selling for 236. He buys it. He doesn't care. A year later, though, he decides that he wants to list it and sell it. So I decide to list it, and we get a great offer. This is right when COVID happened. You and I became real estate agents around the same time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you obviously know where the market was at. It was kind of crazy. It was booming. We list the house at 243. I did my comparable market analysis. It comes out at 243. 240, 242, 243. We listed at 243. We get an offer at 246. VA appraiser comes in. There's a VA appraiser comes in. He comes in at 210, which makes absolutely zero sense because the VA appraiser in the year prior came in at 220. So now the VA appraiser comes in at 210, and I want to know what happened. And obviously, we don't make the sale; it doesn't happen, But those are numbers. This particular situation are numbers that are just engraved in my head because this is something that I'm a math.
That stung. That stung. And were you able to do? I mean, that's Tidewater. Were you able to look at comps and send them comps and all that?
We did. But the VA appraiser was not budging. So,
yeah.
And you mentioned the word Tidewater. I've done this. I've talked about this before. What is Tidewater again?
So the Tidewater, and this is just the best of my knowledge, but a Tidewater is just when the appraisal goes in lower than what the sales price is. Or whatever the contract was, right? And so we have 48 hours to respond with all your homework.
Okay.
And so I've gotten lucky sometimes. Other times I have not gotten lucky.
Well, I'll be very honest with you. Obviously, we're not appraisers, but I've been within about $100 to maybe $500 of all my CMAs since then. That was my first and only CMA where I've actually been off.
Yeah.
And I don't think I was off. I mean, obviously we're not appraisers, right? But I've been pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
You look at all my comparable market analysis and you look at where we appraised, I'm pretty close,
Yes.
And this was the first one. And I started off recently at that time, it was just, it blew my mind. So we don't close this one. We don't sell. It was what it was. But for me, being a math guy, I can get pretty close. I'm not, like I said, and I always give a range. I don't, like I said, I don't give an exact number. I always give a range, but within that range, I've been pretty close, And I've been wrong too. I think one time, let me rephrase. I've been wrong one time when I was repping a buyer, and I came in at a shorter number, but it overappraised. But we were okay because we had gone under contract anyways, But as a buyer, you want it to overappraise anyways. You have
exactly, so you can have that equity.
Yeah. So that was the one time where I was like lower than the list price.
Yeah, I think that's why it's important. Like whenever we get the appraisal, especially when I'm representing a buyer, well, either way, but when I'm representing a seller, I get the call from the appraisal from the appraisal company that they're going to appraise the property and everything. I send them everything. I send them the contract. I send them the survey. If anything was done, like the roof, any adjustments that was done, just because it's better for us to do it beforehand.
Right.
It's also with my CMA. So I also send that like this is where I got the sales price. This is what basically we're doing the homework for them. So yeah, I have gotten lucky where I present all this, and they're like, oh yeah, it meets, or it, you know, a little bit over. Just recently we did have one where it did not meet. Or actually, as a matter of fact, we are going to close tomorrow. But on this one, the builder and I were on a good number. And I said, if we do it at this price, I don't think we're going to have any traction. So we worked together on the price, and this home is beautiful in Westlaco, and it still came out short. It came out like it was like at 358. I was like, there's no way. There's no way that the lot is bigger, everything. Now it's a new subdivision. It's a new area. It's on the south side. And if you know Westlaco, I work there, so I know the area also very well. A lot of expansion and lots of divisions are coming on the north side. Right. So in order to be like, well, he was just doing local close by. And then I'm like, well, look at the north side. I mean, you got to bring that area. So, I mean, I try to do my exercise my right of you know, communicating with the appraiser. The builder also had that energy certificate, and that energy certificate right off the back is 5% increase of value. Just with that 5%, we would have already been on that mark of our list price. He still didn't. It was still not. So
it's discretion, right?
Monday.
Is that their discretion? Like, hey, I truly believe that the value is 200,000 instead of like 250.
All I can, we do our jobs, right? So they have a license to appraise properties, and it's their way they do it. It's the same way that we have our license to practice real estate.
Yeah.
Right. So they may not agree with our sales price, or it was off, you know, it was too low, or it was too high. Same thing with them, right? So it is what it is.
I totally agree. I it is what it is, and you win some, you lose some, you know. So where we're at today, baby, where we're at today. Anyways, but speaking about win and win situations. So, but we do have a quick comment here. Hey, Diana, let's close another deal from Omar Gobea.
Omar.
That's a great guy right
there. So great. Veteran también. I love veterans.
He's a good guy.
Omar was great. Yeah, we were quick. I love it when we both know, you know, let's get it going. You know, both sides, real professional. Let's do it. What we're going to do to help our clients. And yeah, awesome.
I'm going to tell you something that I've learned. I've always known the answers, the secret to this, but something that I've learned.
So why you ask me?
Huh?
Why you ask me?
What do you mean?
You're going to ask me or what?
No. Something that I learned. No, I was going to say something that I've learned, but in response to what you said, great guy, whatnot. I've learned in the last 3 months, 4 months, the better the communication is between a buyer's agent and a listing agent, the smoother the deal.
Amen. This is where you need the clapping. This is where you need your assistant.
No, when I first started, and I'll say this, when I first started, I was a little timid, a little shy, because I kept hearing, "Oh, real estate is a cutthroat industry. Real estate is a cutthroat industry. Real estate is a cutthroat industry." It's not a cutthroat industry. I've learned more so today that real estate is about helping each other out, helping each other to close the deal. We're both trying to accomplish the same thing, help each other out. You know, and I ask questions all the time, you know, and I recently did my first lease. I haven't done a residential lease. I had tried my very best to shy away from them, but this particular client I really liked, and so I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do. So I'm over here communicating with the listing agent. I go, look, dude, I'm not gonna lie, I have pretty much no idea how to handle a lease, and so and they were really cool and go, hey, this is what you're gonna do, and you know,
that's awesome. Yeah, that's good.
I it's communication. For me, I've learned that the more honest and the more upfront you are about the deal, if your buyer's not gonna get the financing, fine, okay, we have a hurdle to jump. Let's figure it out together. And I had another deal where this particular listing agent, great guy, won't mention any names because I don't want to get in trouble mentioning names. Maybe they don't want me to give him props or anything like that. But great guy. You know, I let him know, hey, my buyer is struggling right now to get the closing, to get the financing. This is a situation. Let's do our homework. Great communication. Great, Luciano. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. You want to close the deal. You're here to help each other out. and the communication is key.
Yeah.
You know, so I've learned that.
No, definitely. I think for me, it's about building relationships not only with the client but also with real estate agents, right? Your colleagues and stuff, because there's many of us, we don't know to have the opportunity to work with each other. It gets to that point, right? So I think the most professional that you can do, and like you said, let's work together, let's make it happen. When there's hiccups on the road, work with the working with the seller, I'm working with the buyer. Let's communicate what we can do to make it work. So yeah, definitely, I like having those type of experiences. And I can totally agree with you on that it's like they were saying that it's a cutthroat industry and stuff. For me, it hasn't been. It's been more about building your relationships. Mm-hmm. That has been my number one, right? And unfortunately, when people see your license number, right, they're like, oh yeah, we can sound like a COVID baby, right?
COVID
COVID baby, COVID baby in real estate, right? But that doesn't mean that you're agreeing on that. That doesn't mean, because my past experiences, my past employments, my past careers have allowed me to be who I am, the type of agent I am now. Mm-hmm. So when I see other agents new and everything like that, I always give them, benefit of the doubt and stuff, because you don't know what their background is.
Exactly. And then the teacher in me always comes out, and so I do look at their well, let me rephrase that. I look at it depending on the situation. Like when I get like, hey, Luciano, I don't remember a most recent example. I'm trying to think of one, but it happened, and I had to say, I need to go find out if this guy's a rookie so that I know that I can help him out or not help him out. So sure enough, I looked up his license number. I was like, this guy's a rookie. I'm gonna help him out because I'm trying to close this deal, and I'm sure he is too. So I want to know where he stands. Now if he's one of those numbers where it's like a 2,000, or 200,000 or something like that, it's this guy knows what they're doing. He's just acting dumb, or she's acting dumb. So it's a different story. And you know what? They may be, but that's not the case, right? So,
it comes back to education. Yeah, you're right. It comes back to education, and this is when you help other agents that need that, because you've been there and you felt the same way that they have. Mm-hmm. And that's why I think both of us can bring kudos and high fives to our broker, right? Because education is here, right? Education is here and stuff. It's provided, and always on a call and everything. So yeah, I would totally agree with that.
When I first started, when I was a rookie, when I was a COVID baby, I would call our broker at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and he would answer. Just saying.
Wow.
He would answer, and I felt bad, but that's when I was working, because I was getting out.
That was your time. Yeah, that was when you were able to
teaching. So I was negotiating at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. So I would call him, and obviously there was a couple of times dude, I'm already asleep. I understand that, but there was other times where he would answer 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and one time I think my very first contract he would answer, and he picked up, and it was like we were talking while I was writing and typing out my contract. We was telling me what to do. So shout out to him, kudos to him. Jonathan Lindley, great guy right there. In case you guys are looking for a broker, in case anybody out there is looking for a broker, hey, Jonathan, he's a great guy. So anyways, going back, and we deviated a little bit from our from our guide episode here. Going back to segment number 2, win-win dynamics.
We're barely in segment number 2. Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Hey, when the conversation gets going, the conversation gets going. So that's why I told you, like,
that's true.
Conversation, don't worry about it. Hey, we'll come back and we can skip a segment here, skip a segment there. But talking about win-win situations, why specifically, or how specifically can seller concessions, I think what I'm looking for here is talk to me a little bit about what your thoughts are. Okay, here are $10,000 of seller concessions. Use them as you need to. Talk to me a little bit about the buy down. What do you know about the buy down?
Oof, that is more like it started. That one was very popular as soon as the interest rates went up, but then it just went down, right? So it was. I haven't heard much of it. I mean, that lasted like 3-4 months. I'm not saying that the product is not out there, but it's not as intense
Okay.
as what people are promoting, because I haven't seen it promoted as much. Now, if I talk to a lender, and depending on situation of the buyer, is like, oh, we can do a buy down, right? But I tend to go more. I'm very simple. Buy down for me, it's a little more complicated, and I don't want my clients to have a complicated loan. I just don't.
I feel that.
So seller now it just depends, because sometimes they need to have a complicated loan. This is the only way, and we don't know what their dream is. So it is what it is. But that would probably be. I'm going to step away from that buy down, because I have no idea.
That's a lender question.
I have an idea. I'm not educated on.
All I know about the buy downs really is, okay, so from what I understand of what a buy down is they can like buy a year or 2 years worth of a lower interest rate, and then that second year it'll jump back up. But the idea is, if I'm not mistaken, if any lenders are listening, they can always chime in. But after that 1 year, they can come back and refinance it before they go back up to the actual interest rate that they were supposed to get it at. So that's the way I understand it. You buy it. Essentially, if I'm not mistaken, you're like renting it for like a year or two, and then you
I didn't see it like that. There's a lot of programs that the lenders have, and I think that's why it's good that we have great lenders that surround us as real estate agents, because we pick up the phone and say, hey, so and so, I have this buyer. This is what situation we're looking for, and this is where we're at. And because of the programs that they have, whether it's buy downs, whether it's whatever it is, they'll make it fit. Ultimately, it's going to be between the buyers and the lender that works with their finances.
Right.
But I'm more just clean, just very clean. And I have promoted buy downs for certain properties because it is needed, right, on that property or something like that. But in seller concessions, I mean, honestly, it just makes the property more affordable for the buyer. That's number one. It just makes it more affordable. Why? Because of the closing costs.
Right.
And then
close.
Exactly. And then for the seller, the property sells.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just
the way I see it. So for example, particular situations you might, so let's say you have a house listed at 300,000 and you ask for, I don't know, let's just say $15,000 in seller concessions. So that's the seller's really looking at selling the house or the property at 385,000. And when you think about it, the net, right? So that right there, if we're talking about closing costs, what entails closing costs? You're talking about survey, you're talking about appraisal, inspection, but that's more of an upfront cost. The appraisal is too, right? But inspection,
the lender fee.
The lender fees, all these costs add up. And so, you have your down payment. If you're going FHA, 3.5% down payment, you have your down payment, but that's 3.5%. And you still have another 2% or maybe 3% that you have to cover. And so those seller concessions really do help out with the buyer. And so, for the seller, if you're listing your house at 300,000, the market value might be, I don't know, 295 or something like that. I think it's right where it needs to be. If you're asking for 15K seller concessions, it allows the buyer to come in. So it's a win for the buyer and a win for the seller. Go ahead.
And here's another thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be for the remember, so it could be they're coming from another state. Those are moving expenses. They're needing appliances because the home didn't come with appliances. So that is going to be okay. I do have the money for the closing costs, but then I'm going to be very tight to move into this house because I still need to move, schedule everything for the movers and this and that. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that amount, like the 10,000. It could be 5, it could be, 8. So you can play with it. As a seller, as representing a seller, now we're talking about buyer, but representing a seller, you don't have to promote it. Sometimes, sometimes on certain listings, like for example, in Tres Lagos, I did promote it because my client was like, sell it. whatever we need, right? And we added home warranty. He was okay with that. I even told him, I said, hey, taquiza, right? And he's like, yeah.
Did you get a lot of people with that one?
You gotta be, creative with your marketing, right? But then on that one, but then on this, on another, let's say another listing property that you have, you don't have to market it. This is where the buyer's agent, because if it's not marketed, is the buyer agent going to be like, oh no, well, this is it? No, this is where a buyer's agent can ask for it. The worst, I always tell my clients, the worst they can say is no.
Yep.
Right. Yep. So let's do full price of the property, and let's throw in, $5,000. How's your situation?
Yeah. So there are situations where, and speaking of experience, where you can you maximize your seller concessions. And we can talk real quickly about maximize. I think with FHA it's 6%. I think VA is what, 4%?
Yes.
So you can maximize your seller concessions if you are going at $300,000 FHA. That's 3.5% down payment. So what does that look like? Let's go to 200,000. That's a little bit easier, right? 200,000.
I would have to get a calculator.
You know what? I can't do simple math, Diana.
I know. I remember you telling us. I was like, "How is that?"
I can't do simple math, but I can do 200. Let's do 200,000. So we'll go 200,000, and we ask for 3.5% down payment. That's $7,000, right? No,
I lost you at 200,000. I believe you.
Look, talk to your lender. Talk to your lender. That's what your lenders are there for. We're only here to help you buy and sell. No. Well, anyways, 3.5% down payment out of 200,000 is 7,000. But then you have your closing costs, which can range, 1 to 3% or even more. I don't know, depending on your lender origination fees. But if you ask for 6%, at 6% of 200,000 is going to be $12,000 that you can ask for. So you're putting your down payment, which is 3.5 to 7,000. I think the seller concessions doesn't cover the down payment. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? You still have to come in with down payment?
Correct.
So, and then if you ask the right buyer's agent, or, who's willing to go ask the lender, you can even get down payment assistance, right? So now you got down payment assistance and you got closing costs. You can come out of that house being paid, right? I mean,
that's exactly what happened to my buyers last year, actually, December 24th, which was his birthday, I remember, in a San Juan property. First-time home buyers, and the great lender was able to put like a 5-point sum down, because of the down payment assistance at that time. Wow. But this is why we always tell our buyers, get pre-qualified, even better, get pre-approved, right? And this is why, because like that, we know what we're working with, and what's your price point. And then we talk another thing about communication. You as the agent communicate with your lender. That's the relationship that y'all have, and say, hey, Diana, he's gonna need this amount of closing, right? So it's like, okay, does this property, I call the listing agent, hey, what's going on? How's this house looking? I know you don't have seller concessions, but would your seller be willing? Oh yeah, sure. Or no, this is when the co-communication comes in all angles.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a quick example, and then we'll move on to segment number 3. So I bought my house in 2017. I'm a teacher, right? I don't remember all the ins and outs of my transaction. I'm sure maybe, my real estate agent can help us out if he wants to chime in or not. But I don't remember all the details of my transaction. What I do remember is that I had saved about $7,000 to $8,000 because I knew my down payment was going to be 3.5%, and then I was going to have to spend some money on closing costs. What I remember very distinctively is that I didn't have to put any money down at all, not even for closing costs. I used those $7,000 to go buy furniture. I bought my couch. Yeah, so this is why I'm telling the power of seller concessions helps out. And I was very skeptical. I mean, you can ask my real estate agent, who happens to be my broker today, right? I was very skeptical. So I actually have another story with him. I actually told him I have a good friend who's a real estate agent, but I ended
Oh,
up
you
using,
did. You use that line. You
yeah,
use that line.
I have a friend that's a real, but I was a skeptic. I am a skeptic. You know that I recently bought an iPad that took me about 2 months to buy.
Dude, did you really go to the other side?
No, no. I bought an iPad because I wanted cellular device for to be out there, to be out there on it's actually a really good device. I'm an Android thick and through.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
And
I haven't gotten an iPad because I'm like,
it took me forever to say to flip the gun. But so that's a different story.
I know, that's another segment. That's
Let
like
me finish my
another
story
episode.
here with my Seller Concessions. I was able to buy my dish, my stove, my couches, my dryer, and my washer because I was able to save on the Seller Concessions or on the closing costs by asking for Seller Concessions. I will not be able to tell you the amount. I gotta go back and I have all those emails. I have that email where I'm telling John, I go, hey, I already have a good friend of mine who's gonna be helping me out. And he was like, oh yeah, okay, that.
Yeah, you do
And
that.
so,
You go do that, boo.
yeah, exactly. So, but anyways, he helped me, obviously with the down payment assistance and the Seller Concession. So if you get that good buyer's agent, or even if you get with a seller's agent, if there's communication, make it happen. Get a good loan officer, get yourself pre-approved, ask the questions. I was like, hey, I'm a teacher. I would really like some down payment assistance because I heard that teachers get down payment assistance. I don't know if that was true or not, but I had heard from
There is lenders that also use teachers are like a hero program.
Yes.
Also.
Yeah.
So there's just so much out there. And that's very important that you said that, ask questions. So to the buyers, I always tell them anything that you think, even if you think it's dumb, for me, it's not, because you're learning. You need to ask me all the questions because I need to understand that you're understanding your own process.
Yeah.
Right. This is for a very long time.
Yeah.
I mean, I cannot say it's going to be your forever home because
I'm gonna tell you right now, my house is gonna be a forever home.
Okay, we have that on recording. We will remember that.
No, my wife's been trying to tell me, hey, maybe we should look into a new house or whatever. But right now, I'm very, very content with what we got. I'm not gonna lie. We got the pool and whatnot, so we'll see in the future. So we'll talk. It's a conversation we'll have to have a revisit later in the future.
But it's very important. It's. I think I'm already going to go to segment number 3. It's very important for buyers to really educate themselves, right? And I like it because I bought this when I built my home. I went through the process by myself. I didn't get an agent. I got the builder. I just, which he happens to be a real estate agent, and we're friends and everything. There's nothing wrong with that. But now that I'm on this side of the spectrum, I have learned so much, right? And now I'm like, okay, this is what you need to know. Being a single mom, when I purchased when I built my home and everything, and I know now, right? I know now the things to ask, and I've been through the experiences of not having, okay, like how much is this going to cost? How much is this? What's my allowance and all that? So that actually helps a lot. Going to segment number 3 on the seller side. Number 1, you do sell your property, right? One of the concessions, how is it aligned with their property? Well, basically, I mean, you sell it. You don't have to go if the buyer's agent in the offer is bringing you the 10,000 or the 12,000 or the 5,000, you can definitely counter. Right. Just recently today, I did an offer that it was accepted, but we had offered, well, it was countered. So we had put full price on the property here in McAllen, and we put seller concession. I put a home warranty, and I put seller concessions 8,500.
85?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. They're moving from Virginia.
Okay.
So the listing agent calls me. He's like, hey, Diana, let's make this work. Let me talk to my seller. Seller comes back and says, what if we were to reduce the 85 to 25? So 2,500, right? You're like, oh, that's a big chunk, but you keep all the furniture.
Okay.
So every room has the bedrooms. It has the kitchen. It has a dining room. It has all the appliances. This house was actually staged. It's beautiful with the furniture and everything. It had a pool. It has patio furniture. And guess what? This is a plus for my buyers because they're in Virginia. It was going to cost, how much is it going to cost them for them to pack up all their stuff and move several states down to South Texas?
Yep.
So every situation is different. Something that I don't like doing, and I don't like taking advantage of the seller. If I'm representing the buyer, I do not like taking advantage of the seller, right? It doesn't, but there's a difference where saying, you know what, let's just put it out there. It doesn't hurt if they come back with a counter.
Yeah.
Because at least we already put our foot in the door, and there's an offer, right? The listing agent's responsibility should be, hey, this is our offer. Usually the first offer is always the best one because, right?
Yeah.
And so try to work it out so we can meet in the middle.
So I'm gonna throw you a couple of loopholes here. What are your thoughts on putting in an offer above asking, but asking for, say that property is listed 300,000. We ask, hey, so we'll give you 310, but I want 10,000 or even 15,000 in seller concessions.
Oh, definitely, we could do that, but I would educate the buyers and say we can do that. We just need to run the comparable market analysis,
right?
Because
you want to make sure you appraise.
Correct. And we have to see. So that's a great question because that goes back to this to the buyer. If it doesn't appraise, they're going to have to make that.
But again, this goes back to that question I asked you earlier that we need to bring an appraiser in because look. I said, hey, look. Oh, yo me pegó el gol. Slurring my words, baby. So hey, look. Obviously, you have the property listed at 300,000. Maybe it's a competitive market. We're willing to go 310, but we still need $10,000 in seller concessions, or we need 15,000. That's still looking like you're selling the property at 295. So I think that is actually I'm gonna have to look for an appraiser we're gonna bring on the show and ask that question because I have had that situation happen when we go above asking and we ask for 10 or 15K in seller concessions, which that's the reason why we rolled in that's what the word is, right? We're rolling in our closing costs. So I have had that happen, which is
also
great.
We could probably meet in the middle, right? So let's just if we really think it's our gut feeling tells us everything as real estate agents. So aside from looking at the CMA and stuff, and you're like, I'm going to risk it. And the reason why you're going to risk that is because it depends on, you have no control on the appraisal, no control.
Yeah.
So you are going to risk it. It's like, do I want to risk it 10,000 or do I want to risk it like 7 or 6,000?
Yeah.
Right. Because that's kind of like we're riding the money. And it's just going to depend on the appraiser.
I had a situation recently. It was a cash deal. Check this out. The list price was $215,000. They were going to go ahead and leave their home as it was, fully furnished, beautiful home, and they were going to offer 5,000 seller concessions.
Nice.
That was promoted.
Okay.
I told my buyer, I go, hey, look, I'm not gonna lie. There are two people, right? So I got there a little early because I like to get there. Like we talked about when we first jumped onto the show. I like to be to my appointments early, 15, 20, 30 minutes early. Just wait outside, kind of like scope out the neighborhood, check it out, right? So while I got there, I two buyers agents showed up and showed the house as well. Probably had been on the market for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And I told my buyer, I go, hey, dude, look, listen. There are other buyers that are probably interested in this particular property. I know it says 215 fully furnished and offering 5K seller concessions. Scratch the seller concessions, come in at 215. It's going to come fully furnished. You don't have to worry about anything. We got the offer, we accepted, we got it, boom, closed it. We just closed on it last week. Happy family. And the other thing I told the listing agent, go, hey, this isn't for an investor. This is for a family. Because that's another thing that I've kind of like learned a little bit. we get beat out a lot by investors. I have another family that I now have under contract, but he was looking for the 120, the 125 range, the 130.
Oh yeah,
He's not looking to
I love those because
resell.
you're trying. Yeah, yeah.
He's looking for a home for his family, and
Mhm.
we have put in 3 or 4 different offers on much nicer homes, right? But we were getting beat out 10, 15K, 20K. And the thing is that for my particular buyer, he doesn't want to come in at 140, 145 if he doesn't have to. That's a lot of money.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a lot of money when you're coming in. The list price is 120, 125. And it was happening. It's happening a lot. So all these investors are boom. And so, and then there's, I mean, in this particular situation, he didn't need the seller concession. He goes, no, fuck it. I mean, if I take it, I take it, but I need a home for my family. He's got a baby. He's just born 4 months ago. So I used that. I had to use that. I go, hey, look, so-and-so agent, this is the situation. I'm not looking to buy a house for my client.
This is not, yeah.
Investment. This is for him and his family. He's trying to get in there. So communicate, because this is not an investor. This is a family.
Yeah.
He wants to come in here and have something for his family. And so that, I think, and we came in at full price. We didn't say, hey, we want to go in at 110 or 115. That, he's happy.
That is so awesome.
We talked about it, Tiger. Look, big dog. Obviously, it's not the house like that we just saw over there. It's gonna need some work.
Yeah,
but you're getting it for the price you want. And slowly but surely you'll add this, you'll add that. You can, it's gonna take some work on your end, on your side, but he got the offer accepted.
But you know what? I love that story. But you know what? Those are the families that will work for that. And say, you know what? Yeah, that's fine. I'll put a little extra, and they work harder for their home versus they work harder for renting or wherever they were living with their in-laws or whatever the case might be. So that's so awesome. I love hearing.
I've been very fortunate because I got that one and the other one that I just told you about, the 215, because they're both families and they both have newborns. One has 4 months, and I think the other one's a little under a year. And beautiful families, and the goal is just to help them. As a real estate agent, one of the things, and I can get back into why I became a real estate agent, why I became a teacher first. And then one of the things that I like about real estate agents, because there's that little reward benefit that you got as a teacher. So I love that feeling. So I love that feeling when I was a teacher, like, hey, coach, thank you so much for helping me out with, achieve my successes and on the football field or in powerlifting. And now it's the same feeling here with real estate. Thank you so much for helping me get into my house. Thank you so much for allowing me to get into my first home. I compare those 2 feelings like equals. You know what I'm saying? But yes, I took it to another level.
I love that. That's so awesome.
But
it's very rewarding. It really is. So I think it's what did you call it? What was real estate for them? For what did they say?
What do you mean?
Cutthroat. It was like cutthroat and stuff.
Cutthroat industry.
I haven't seen that. I mean, if you're gonna work, you're gonna work, right? And then you find it so rewarding because of so many happy faces that you see and so many different experiences. Every transaction is completely different. Every client, every customer is completely different. And I think that is so awesome. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
I want to add, you also have buyers that have been watching way too much HGTV. And you have a house listed at 500,000. And they say, "Sabes que I want to offer 410,000," and then I want to still ask for another, maximize or ask for seller concessions, maybe 10.
Yes.
15. And I'm like, dude, you're shitting me, right? but as the real estate agent, as much as you want to help them, get into that home, there's the education factor. Yes. Do you ever just write the offer up for them, anyways?
You know what? That's going to happen to me next week. Because I always put myself in every person's shoes, right? And I'm thinking, okay, it's going to happen to me because I got the call yesterday about this, great client and stuff. And they just think that they're going to half it. The list price, like not even half, it's 155 and they're going to do like 62. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, sir, I really don't think they're going to take that. Oh, we're just going to wait to see what they counter. Right. Yeah. I think this is more like, do I do that? But this is a disrespect to the seller.
I'm gonna flip it on you. I had a similar situation where I was like, dude, for reals, man, you fucking cheating me, right? The house was 400,000. We come in at 450, 50K from, 400,000, 350, or somewhere around those numbers. I can't remember the exact numbers. And I was like, dude, they're not gonna take it. I'm telling you right now, they're not gonna take it. But you're my friend, you're my client. I'm gonna write up the offer. They fucking accepted the offer.
Wow.
They fucking accepted the offer. So I'm gonna flip it on you too. That's why you asked us. I asked you that question. Do you do it or do you not do it?
So I am gonna do it. But I'm gonna reach out to the listing agent, right, and just say it the way it is.
Yeah. I just see what happens. Hey, look, this is the offer. This is the offer. Accept it.
No, but I mean, it's really, it's one of those like, oh,
Yeah, I don't know. It's you got to shoot your shot. You know what they say? Like if you miss all the shots you don't take.
Yeah.
And so as much as you know what the market is looking like, because obviously we're real estate agents, we watch the trends and whatnot. But in this particular example, and it's not the only example it's happened to me. I've had a couple of other examples throughout the course of my real estate career where it's listed at 100,000. We come in at half, half or 60,000, and offers accepted.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I think it comes back to your duty as an agent if you're going to accept them as your client, right? Mm-hmm. And you don't know what the situation is of the seller.
Yeah.
I mean, we just put it out there, throw it out there, and all of a sudden they're like, you know what? Yes, I'll take it. Like you got lucky. That's awesome.
Yeah. No, and
you just inspired me. You answered my question. I'm going to do it.
Well, there you go. Well, see, and I told my buyer, I go, look, just be prepared for them to one of three things. I always tell three things: accept, counter, or just completely reject you. And I have been rejected. I'm not gonna lie, I have been rejected completely. I've actually rejected. I have a listing right now too, where we have it, and I have it at a higher price than what it needs to be selling at. But there's a reason behind it. But I buyer comes in at 25, 30K. I'm like, dude, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, my client, I'll talk to him. Sure enough, reject it. He goes, hey, Luciano, no, I don't want to accept that. Please keep it on the market a little bit longer. Straight up. Wow. Don't even counter. Just tell him that we're declining it. Or resubmit an offer. So cool beans, right? So there's that situation too. I kind of have an idea where my client's bottom number is at, but there's certain situations in it too that they need to take care of. So
correct. Yeah, and we cannot, and that's another thing of our duties as agents is we cannot divulge if that information is not authorized to divulge. So it's just going to be a no is going to be a no.
Yeah, exactly. So I've been on both sides. I've been on both sides where I lowball that offer and it gets accepted, and then I've been on the other side where I've received the lowball offer and we just totally decline it. And it just depends on the situation of the buyers and the sellers and all that good stuff. But again, you don't know unless you make your shot. You take your shot. And so that's, for me, I learned that about a year ago. I learned that, it was a tough pill to swallow. Why lie? And I'll tell you a little bit more about it later. But it was a tough pill to swallow because I should have just said, fuck it, let's write it up. But at the same time, I was like, dude, look at where the market is at, So
you learn, you live and learn.
Exactly.
Live and learn. So
live and learn.
You beat yourself up. You're like, next time it's like, oh, no, it's not, it only happens once.
And you know what? You learn every deal. You learn every transaction. You learn something new. And if you're not learning something new from every transaction, then I mean, where you talk about your duties to your agents, you want to know that you're better for it the next time. So, it is what it is, right? So let me talk to you real quickly, in navigating challenges for a competitive market. So where do you how competitive a market do you see our current industry in right now? And do you think seller concessions are good or bad in today's market versus a few months ago?
So I just always use seller concessions.
Okay, so you just always use it. Fuck it, let's go.
I just always used it. And that's something when I would have my listings, I would always ask my sellers, are you willing to help buyers? Because you're looking at, these are first time home buyers, that they are approved for this amount, but they may not have the closing costs. Are you willing to do closing costs? And that's when they're like, well, yeah, it just depends. I'm not going to pay all of them or something. That's fine.
Yeah.
So I've always used that. I think that's a great leverage to have on both seller and buyer side. Because
who's more prone to give or offer some seller concessions, builders or resale homeowners?
Oh, that's a good question.
I want to say it's builders.
Mine has been both.
Okay.
Mine has been both. Yeah. Now, my builders would not promote it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but they're not opposed to it.
I don't know. I think a lot of builders, like Esperanza Homes, offers like, if you use our lender, we'll go to give you a 1% seller concession.
Yeah. No, So my builders, like, they don't market that. Is it frowned upon? No, but they're just not going to market it, right? Yeah. So we don't put that. Now, if the buyer's agent calls me and says, "Hey, is there any room?" I already asked my seller that. What's your final price point? So my job is to give you top dollar, and that's my job. But what is your final price point? So he gives me a number. I'm like, okay. So whenever they call me, that's when I'll be like, oh yeah, there's a little bit of room.
I always tell buyer's agent, give me your offer, and then I'll present it. But write it up, because I have this problem with it where people want to submit offers verbally or just do a text. I'm like, dude,
I haven't. I'm glad. I know there's some in the office here that have said about that. I haven't had that experience.
I have received verbal offers, and I go, please look, I will relate.
I wouldn't take them though. I wouldn't.
Like, I can relate just the number, but I'm not presenting it until I have something written. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, I think I would relay it, but at the same time, I would tell my client, it's not in writing. I don't believe it.
Yeah, exactly. So, because then you get into these issues where, like, hey, Sabescape was, here's a verbal offer, then you get another verbal offer. Te vas a perder. So for me, write it up, present it to me. If you're asking for seller concessions, that way I can show it to them.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, you and I are trying to make the sale. And at the end of the day, maybe my seller is down. Maybe my seller's not down. Maybe my buyer needs seller concessions. But please write it down. And like I do, I hate this. I'll be honest with you. I hate to write up an offer where I know I'm going to get rejected, but I'll still write it up.
Well, because of our work. It's a lot of work. People.
I'll still write it up because you just never know. But at the same time, I really do hate it. I was like, it's time fucking consuming. You know what I mean? So I hate it, but I'll do it. I'll do it, but it is a lot of work, So, and I'll tell you more about that at a later time too. So, anyways, moving forward, do you want to add anything to that? Any of that? By the way, I don't know. Just maybe cut you off.
Which one? What part?
I don't know, receiving offers.
No, I like verbal. It's just, it's for me, it's in writing. Right. I can send the text, but at the same time, I'm protecting my client and saying, look, so like, what do you think? Everybody I can tell you, I'll buy you a car. But I'm not going to buy you a car. So I need it in writing.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I need it in writing too. Moving forward to segment number 5. Marketing strategies, making your listing stand out. How do seller concessions? We already know the answer to this.
We kind of already discussed it.
Seller concessions make your property stand out. So if you're on the listing side, you don't have to, but if you offer them, your home is gonna stand out on the market. You know, when a buyer reads, oh, $5,000 seller concessions offering straight up. Now, let's back up a little bit. Does that mean that 5,000 is the number that's going to be the magic number? Can you negotiate that anyways?
This is where I think that as a listing agent, if you put 5, that's 5. Like, that's it, right? But I'm saying if they're wanting more, this is when, is that what you're asking? If they're wanting more, like if they need more? Oh yeah. I mean, if they need it more, if I knew that my buyer needed more, I would call that listing agent and say, hey, you know, I might really need 7,000. Like this is honest. Like I already talked to the lender and everything like that. And it's like a good agent would tell me, write it off.
Write it up.
Write it up.
And then present it.
and I would present it. I would, you know, because this is, and I already explained the situation and stuff. But yeah, definitely, if it's 5. Now, if it's 5 and they need 4, of course I would take the 5 because that benefits my client.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. Like I said, do you put that in the listing description?
So in this Tres Lagos, I did. That's the first thing that came up, like $10,000 seller concessions, right?
I wonder if somebody Googles $10,000 seller credit, if that'll populate in Google.
No, but when they go through the other real estate platforms on the public remarks, that's what comes out.
But that's what I'm saying. I think, you know me and my
yeah.
I'm
Which
wondering,
you would be, yeah, for sure. I would totally want you to create something that has an algorithm and you just type something up and like you put seller concessions and all the listings that have seller concessions would pop up.
Right. But I think so I'm just wondering because so on the website side of stuff, I'm wondering, I think I might be right on this one where if I Google, hey, you know, because if you're looking for homes with chimneys, if that word chimney is in the listing description, then
it's great, yeah,
it's gonna populate on your Google search. So I'm wondering, hey, I'm looking for seller concessions. So if you know your seller's willing to offer seller concessions, if you put that in listing description, I'm pretty sure that'll populate on a search if I'm looking for homes in Mission, Texas with seller concessions. So I'm
gotta try that.
Something to think about, you know, on the marketing aspect of this. So because I do know for a fact that if you look up homes with chimneys, obviously those are in the features. But if you look up homes with chimneys and you put chimneys on the listing description, that's gonna populate onto your Google search. So I'm, you know, hey, seller concessions, it might be a good way to market. Hey, seller is willing to offer seller concessions, maybe not put an amount, but the word seller concessions can be there, you know.
So on our MLS I know there's a way to show like different words, like keywords. Would it come up if we were to on the keywords concessions? I
don't know. I have to play with it. I'm gonna have to go play with it. This is me just
me too.
But I was just wondering, you know, because this is just, you never know. Hey, and that's the whole purpose of this, Diana, is so you and I can talk and, you know, learn from each other and, you know, teach
this is so good. Yeah, we're gonna play with it after the podcast. We're gonna be like, oh, it's other concessions, because sometimes it has to be specific. So it's like concessions and see what pops up on both the agent remarks and the public.
Or you know, maybe not the word seller concessions per se, but, you know, because closing costs and seller concessions.
Yeah, I could see that.
So
yeah, because a lot of people don't know that are not in the real estate world do not know what seller concessions are.
You are 100% correct. I always get
that's why I've changed that. So on my flyers or marketing, because I know it's going to be in other platforms, you know, seller will help with closing costs with up to certain amount of closing costs. That's more. They know what that means.
And we need to add, and for clarification, closing costs are what you already kind of think about it, but they also include the survey, they also include the appraisal, but they also include the title policy.
Yeah.
Because the seller doesn't have to pay for the title policy. The buyer can pay for the title policy or may need to pay for the title policy.
Yeah.
So that's the
And
seller.
that has happened. Yeah. Yeah.
So when we say, hey, we're going to maximize our seller concessions, and we're going to go, hey, we're going to ask for 6%, but then you're asking for a title policy. I mean, that's a little bit overextending the 6%. So those are all things and whatnot in terms of seller concessions. But anyway, Diana, we're coming to the conclusion of our show here. But I just want to thank you so much for being on here. And obviously this takes time. I know you're involved with the stock show. Can you tell us a little bit about the stock show? Because I know you're very involved with that. Tell us what you do with that, and then we'll go ahead and just close it off there.
So I've been involved with the Rio Grande Valley Livestock Show since 2006 and in the entertainment committee. So we're the ones that bring all the acts together. We bring the hypnotists. We bring any strolling acts that are walking around, when people are visiting, all the entertainment, the musicians, the bands, Tejano. Today is Neil McCoy, good old 90s country. Is it 80s or 90s? Maybe it's in between. So yeah, I've been doing that. Today's the first day that I was not able to go and help out. I've been volunteering with that. I love it. Yesterday was the Spasmatics. That was pretty cool.
I think I've heard of those guys.
Oh my God, they're so fun. They are so fun. They play. Yeah, they're awesome. You should watch them on YouTube. So yeah, I've been doing that. Welcome everybody. It ends until Sunday. Ram Herrera is gonna be the musician for Saturday. Ram Herrera. So that's gonna be a packed house.
Next Saturday.
Yeah. Well, this Saturday, what is it?
The 16th.
16th, yeah. Because 17th it ends. And look out, go online, go to the Facebook. We have the carnival events also, the blast pass. I don't know what the fees are, but just look into that.
My son's gonna be showing a pig, so
awesome. Good luck with your son.
Thursday
Which mission, which school?
Sherryland 4-H.
Sherryland, okay.
Awesome. Well, he's not at the Sherryland School District, he's like Sherryland 4-H.
Yeah, it's a 4-H.
He's doing showing the pig. I think he's the only one for Sherryland 4-H showing a pig.
Cool.
I may be mistaken. I have to confirm that with my wife.
And bull riding, I think the bull riding starts tomorrow, and then the PRCA rodeos are Wednesday and Thursday, if I'm mistaken, or Thursday and Friday, somewhere around there. But
we'll be there. We'll be in and out.
Awesome. I hope I see you there. I'll probably be in a gator, but
see what?
Because I'm not walking. We use gators there.
Oh, you use gators. What did I see you one year?
Yeah.
I think you were in a gator, and I was with my wife walking around. I think we saw you, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But anyway, so let's go ahead and do a quick summary of what we talked about today. We talked about seller concessions and how they help out buyers and sellers. And if you have any questions at any given time, you got my number, you got Diana's number. We're both in Remax Platinum. We're both real estate agents there. We're both realtors, and there is a difference between a real estate agent and a realtor. So if you have any questions about that, definitely give us a call. You got Diana's number, 956-456. Did I get that right? 456-6103. You got my number, 956-862-1556. We do love to talk. We love to talk to people. We love referrals. If you have anybody that is out there looking for a house, give us a call. Again, seller concessions are beneficial for both buyers and sellers. Sellers, you get to sell your house a little bit more attractively. Buyers, you get to purchase the house for less money to close, cash to close, more money in your pocket at the end of the day, right? So any questions, give us a call. Feel free to reach out. Diana, give me a quick minute. Just hang back. I'm gonna put you in the lobby, and just give me a quick second. Meanwhile, I end this. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out. All right, you have a good one. Thank you for showing up.